Hello there, I'm Rachel with the Charlotte Mason Plenary, and my motto over at the Plenary is Charlotte Mason Your Way, because I want to explore the Charlotte Mason method from the only perspective that matters, and that's yours. Part of having the best homeschool that you can have is stepping back and looking at the big picture, and part of the big picture includes the principles. So today I want to help you find your way with Charlotte Mason's 20 principles. This is the first video in a series about Charlotte Mason's principles. The plan is every other Sunday we'll dive into a new principle and study it. You'll get a new blog post and a new video. You can either read or watch or both, and then, yay, my favorite part, we will discuss it over in the Plenary Facebook group. So let's dive in. Principle number 1. Children are born persons. This is my favorite principle, and I love that it's first. Now, Charlotte's definitive writing on this subject is in Volume 6 in Chapter 2. Now, if you don't own a Volume 6, that's okay. Don't worry about it, although the Plenary Annotated Edition will be coming out later this year, so you can always get that one. But if you don't have one, you can download the whole chapter right here, or you can go to the website at cmplenary.com. But Charlotte opens the chapter with a quote by Benjamin Whichcote, and it reads, "No sooner doth the truth come into the soul's sight, but the soul knows her to be her first and old acquaintance. And the consequence of truth is great, therefore the judgment of it must not be negligent." Fun fact, Whichcote was an English theologian and philosopher who lived in the 1600s. He was an advisor to Oliver Cromwell, and he believed in religious tolerance. He's known for the saying that knowledge alone does not amount to virtue, but certainly there is no virtue without knowledge. Now, Charlotte says we should not be surprised that she opens this chapter with such weighty words, because she's trying to set forth a startling truth as a reminder that truths get flat and wonders stale upon us. So let's think about this startling truth. What do you think it means that children are born persons? I'd like you to geek out with me here a little bit as we dive into word origins and definitions. I really like that kind of thing. So we're going to go all the way back to Aristotle, and Aristotle is the person that developed the idea of a first principle. And in his philosophical writings, he said that he was always looking for the first principle or origin. And he defined the first principle as the first basis from which a thing is known. It is a basic, foundational, self-evident truth. So when Charlotte says in her first principle that children are born persons, I think she's saying that every person is born with a spark inside of them. Now, there are many words for this spark, and every spiritual teaching teaches it differently and has a different word. And some of those words include soul, or light, or consciousness. The Hebrew word for soul is nephesh, and it translates to living being, or breath, or even life force. Use the force, Luke. Yes, use the force. Honor the life force. The Sanskrit word for life force is prana. And another Sanskrit word that I really love, and you've probably heard it used in yoga, is namaste. Now, I have a friend who is a yoga teacher, Meredith, and she was telling me about her yoga sessions and how she always ends her sessions with the word namaste. But I'd never heard the definition before, and as soon as I heard the definition, I immediately thought of Principle 1. And the definition is the light that is in me honors the light that is in you. It is literally what makes you, you. You are unique in the world, and there's never been another person like you, and there never will be again. And so Charlotte's saying that we don't acquire it. There's no nature versus nurture argument here. She's saying that we are born with it, it is inherent, and that it's self-evident and must be respected. So, in other words, it's treat others the way you would like to be treated, and that includes children. So how does society treat children? Not very well, if you ask me. I think there's lots of little ways in which we disregard a child without even realizing that we're doing it. And one thing I try to ask myself is this how I would treat another adult? And if it isn't, I need to rethink my actions. So, would I scream and yell at another adult? Would I walk away from another adult who was crying and needed my compassion? Would I constantly belittle or tell another adult all the little things that I think that they're doing wrong? The answer is no, then I need to rethink those actions. Now, I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad here. Have I yelled at my kids? Of course I have. Everybody does. But I think I've gotten better about it over the years because I started asking myself, is this strengthening my relationship with my child? And if it isn't, then I need to rethink what I'm doing. Whether it's yelling at them or underestimating them or nitpicking, I tend to do that a lot, I nitpick. But these are the things that I started to consider in my interactions with my children. And I also started to think about, is this, whatever thing I'm doing right now, is this preserving the dignity of my child? So that's my take on what I think Charlotte means when she says children are born persons. But how do you apply it to education? So let's take a look at some of the quotes from chapter 2. And the first quote is, his mind is the instrument of his education, and that his education does not produce his mind. So Charlotte is saying that a child is born with everything that he needs, that he uses his mind to fulfill his education, and it's not that his education is what makes his mind. She's saying that a child is not a vessel to be filled, it's not clay to be molded, it's not a little mini-me. She's saying that we tend to underestimate children and that we don't think that they can do it, which brings me to quote 2, which is, a teacher's error is rather want of confidence in children. He has not formed a just measure of a child's mind and bores his scholars with much talk. And once we understand this principle, we realize our own inadequacy in teaching children. Because, let's face it, most of us have been taught within a system. And in a system, we lecture, we spoon feed, we cajole, we bribe with trinkets and rewards. And we make learning something that is done to them. And we forget that learning is natural to a child. That learning for the sake of learning is the reward. And so with a method like Charlotte's method, it brings us back to the natural way of learning, and it adapts to the child and bends to the child and to your family. And that's what I mean when I talk about Charlotte Mason, your way. It's all about what is right for your family. No, it's right for my family or some Susie Q family down the street. And it certainly is not all about someone telling you that you must do this or you must do that or you aren't doing CM the right way. It's not that at all. Because Charlotte Mason is a method, and a method adapts to you and your family. It revolves around you and what works for you, and it's there to serve you, not make you a slave to it. And it's the principles that are going to help you figure out how to make CM work for you and your family. So the first step with Charlotte Mason's first principle is recognizing that children are due the respect of any other person. And Charlotte says, if you place a teacher before a class of persons, and he will say, what have I to offer them? His dull routine lessons crumble into the dust they are when he faces children as they are. I love that last little bit, when he faces children as they are. And once you do that, then you have the realization, and it alters the way that we perceive education. It alters the whole outlook of education. And if we do this, if we understand the first principle, suddenly we are in awe of the child, and we're able to see him as he really is and all of his infinite possibilities. We understand that we've been entrusted with the education of a soul, of a nefesh, of a life force. and suddenly we approach everything very differently. We take off our shoes from off our feet. We did not know it was in them, whether we be their parents, their teachers, or mere lookers-on. And with some feeling of awe upon us, we shall be the better prepared to consider how and upon what children should be educated. With some feeling of awe, and we're better prepared to think about the how and upon what our children should be educated. And suddenly, we see the awesomeness of our child again, if we had forgotten that. And we are in awe of his capabilities. And suddenly, workbooks and spelling lists just no longer seem adequate because we want more for our children. And Charlotte says that our business is to give children the great ideas of life, of religion, history, science. But it is the ideas we must give, clothed upon with facts as they occur, and must leave the child to deal with these as he chooses. The great ideas of life, noble ideas. This is why I love the Charlotte Mason method. All right, we're going to stop here for Principle 1 and move on to, yay, homework. Okay, so you can download the PDF right there at the link or go to the website. And then over the next 2 weeks, I'd like you to really think about this principle and keep it foremost in your mind when dealing with your children, or anyone for that matter. Really try to see the born person in them. Try to see your child's light, your child's dignity, and keep asking yourself over the next 2 weeks, the thing that you're doing, does it preserve the dignity of my child? If you have any questions, please post them here or over in the Plenary Facebook group. I love to chat. It's my favorite thing, so let's chat about Principle 1. Now, if you like my video, please give it a good thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel, because we're going to have lots of new videos about the principles, and you want to get notified, so click that little bell so you get notified about each new principle and each new video as they come out. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.